Welcome back to the Way Out West YouTube channel. Rob here, Pres of the club. Today we present the third and final instalment of Geoff Achison's interview. Geoff gives us an insight into his first trip to the States, being ripped off in the UK, teaching at Yorma Corkinen's Fur Peach Ranch, playing with the Allman Brothers, and also what WOW means to the Melbourne music scene. So sit back and enjoy. Also, please hit the subscribe button and bang away on the like button. See you on the other side.
Of us went to the States in '93, just because we wanted to go and see the music up close, up front. It was American artists at that time. They very rarely came to Melbourne.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to go and see it, like up close in the flesh. And so that began as discussions at the Station Tavern amongst fans. So Dutch's drummer Winston Galea and I, we signed up. We said, "Yep, we'll go. We want to go." And there was a bunch of other guys that used to come and see the band. They all said they were going to go as well. And so I think there was 9 of us all up going to the States. We travelled around together and did all sorts of jam sessions and so on. And that's where, oh man, it gets all kind of complicated. But I got entered into a talent competition in Beale Street.
Yeah.
So Winston and I was really angry. It was Nick Quitner that signed me up for it because he found the entry form. I was really angry about it at first. I didn't even have a guitar. So we borrowed a contestant's guitar, and Winston got up on drums, and then we borrowed a bass player from one of the other acts, and we won it. And we won it. So that was a heat. Best job in the world. It's the best job in the world. It's the greatest. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But it does get it can get stressful as like the business side of it.
Yeah.
And the challenge of making a living out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in those times, I remind myself that any business is going to be like that.
Yeah.
And there's got to be times when it's a slog. There's going to be times when I need to apply myself to tasks that I really don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Whether it's bookkeeping or learning how to build a website or any number of shitty jobs But look, I arrived in London and I very quickly got ripped off by a guy in the music industry, a guy who was recommended to me, but he stole a couple of $1,000s from me. So that was pretty awful. There was a bit of a lesson to be learned from that, but I spent the rest of the time, I was just tenacious that something was going to come.
Yeah.
But I spent 3 months there, just trying to get something happening. I met a lot of players, but I just couldn't get anything going on. So I decided I was going to try my luck in the US. And I had, through the win that I'd had in Memphis, there was a few connections I had, and there was a booking agency in Portland, Oregon, prepared to take me on.
Yeah. So
initially I wasn't sure about them, but then I decided to take it up because England just wasn't working. But I'd had such a horrible time with this guy that had stolen my money. Couldn't get anything else happening. So at that time I was like, well, England didn't work. I'm going to leave, and I don't think I'll be back.
Peace. Yeah.
Right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So this was, look, when I tell this story, I usually will refer it to things like the MBAS, the Melbourne Blues Appreciation Society.
Yeah.
It's thanks to them making the connection, thanks to them putting the competition on, which they still do, giving me a chance to go to Memphis, play. Now, win, lose or draw doesn't matter so much. The point is that you go there and you meet people, you play, and then things can happen. So I was lucky enough to win a prize, and even before anything was announced, the boss of the Gibson Guitar Company had offered me an endorsement. Immediately after my set, I got given the card from the guy from Gibson. So even if I didn't win anything, that still would have happened.
Yeah.
And then it took a couple of years. I'll tell you very briefly. We came home and we told the Gibson distributors that, well, look, Gibson Guitars in America have said they want to endorse me, and you know, they've asked if you could supply me with a guitar, and they even told them so. They sent them a letter saying, "Hey, Jeff's our guy. Could you look after him?" And they wouldn't do it. They just chirped and danced around it, and they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't have a bar of it. In fact, they offered me a discount on a guitar, and I said, "No, that's not the deal. You know,
No.
I can't afford a guitar like that." You know? Anyway, so it took 2 years to get back. So it was in '97 that I went back to the States on my way to England to try things out there. And we got to go to the factory, and they looked after me there. They gave me a couple of guitars, which I still play. And just before I left, my host, a guy called Robbie Johns, he said, "Do you teach?" And at that time I didn't. I said, "Well, you know, I don't really." He said, "Well," he said, "only Saturday." He said, "Because we're very good friends with Jorma Kaukonen. Jorma does a lot of work with us, and Jorma's putting together this guitar camp, this place where people can go and learn guitar, and they're looking for instructors, and I think you'd be a good instructor." As he's saying that, I'm like, "Jorma who?"
Yeah.
To my eternal shame, I had no idea who he was.
If you're our age, you would have known about him.
Yeah, but he said the words gig, and he said the word Ohio. So I just said, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, sounds like a gig. Yep, I'd be up for that. Yeah, no worries." So he spoke to Jorma's people.
Yeah.
And on my recommendation, I kept in touch with the Gibson folks. They kind of followed me for a little while just to see how I was going. And Robbie would call me now and again. And basically he brokered the deal. He was the conduit.
Right.
So they took me on Gibson specs, and I arrived there. I didn't know who Jorma was. Jorma didn't know who I was. I'm just this skinny little kid that's turned up with a professional teaching facility. And anyway, they gave me a class. I had a class of 10 people, and I just had to figure out how to run a workshop for 3 days. Mate, over successive visits, it took me a long time to get it, because Jorma's, he's an absolute superstar over there.
Yeah.
But besides the fact that he played with Jefferson Airplane, it was like, oh yeah, I've heard of Jefferson Airplane. They had a hit song.
Or two.
Yeah, but in the States, so that's here. So they weren't the big deal here.
No, they weren't. No.
In the States, and they kicked off the whole Summer of Love thing was them. That was Jefferson Airplane. They instigated it. And the closeness with Janis and Grateful Dead and
Jim Morrison, all of that.
And all those guys. That was all part of that crew. So Jorma lived through that, and then formed Hot Tuna with Jack in the early '70s, which is still going. So I did two or three four-piece ranches like in successive years. Before Vanessa, Jorma's wife, she asked me if I'd like to go on tour with them and open the shows. So that was a big get, and that was in the year 2000. So this was after my third four-piece ranch. So I went over and I did the workshop as usual, and then afterwards I followed the tour bus. And this is in the days before GPS as well. So I'm by myself with this great big fucking atlas. I'm trying to follow the interstate, and I just knew where I had to be. So they would tell me where they were going next, and then I would drive sometimes 12, 14 hours drive between gigs. So I'd finish my set, and sometimes I couldn't hang around and watch Jack and Jorma do their thing, because I had to get in the car and start driving in order to be there in time for sound check the next day. Look, what, with Hot Tuna or?
No, the big house one.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
Oh that's right. That's what the question was.
Yeah, because it's hard to tell. It's hard. Look, I could almost been. Oh, look, there was a guitar in the corner, and I thought I'd pick it up. And
so, look, I have a tiny sliver of connection with the Allman Brothers Band.
Right.
And it all came about because I was then travelling to Georgia on a regular basis. We started off the absolute bottom rung. I had to start all over again because I was completely unknown. But Nancy hooked me up with musicians and she got me gigs. And as time went on, I was able to hire more and more high-level musicians to make up the Soul Diggers. And one of the guys that came on board was Jon Rico Scott, my dear friend, who played drums with me for several years. And at the time that he came on board, so he lived in Atlanta, but he played with the Derek Trucks Band.
Yep.
And so he knew all those guys, and there were lots of connections there. And I wound up playing at different times with all of the members of the Derek Trucks Band.
Okay.
In various guys, except for Count. I didn't play with Count at any time, but Kofi, I did a gig with Rico and Kofi. All this stuff was like mind blowing for me. But essentially, that's Allman Brothers Band territory.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I get that. Yeah.
And one of the songs in my repertoire was the Whipping Post, my version of the Whipping Post.
Yeah. The one you always get asked for, always.
Yeah, but it wasn't until I went to Georgia, and I'd already been playing it for a while, just because I was a fan of the band, and I put it so it was always in the solo set. But each time I would play that, it was like I'd be given the keys to the city. If people weren't sure of me, once I'd play that, it was like, he's all right. Yeah.
He's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and one thing led to another over many, many years. I met other musicians, Randall Bramlett being one of them, who's a big star. Yeah. And we were in New York City. I was doing a show with Randall. The Allman Brothers were in town. I'm having a talk with Randall. The phone rings, and he says, "Excuse me." "Oh, hey, Warren." "Oh, sure, yeah." And then it was like, yeah, I guess he was like, "Yeah, I got my buddy Geoff here. We're doing a show together." "Oh, yeah, sure, bring him along." Yeah. So they were calling anytime Randall was in town, because he's part of the extended family. They'd invite him to come and sit in. So I rode in there on Randall's coattails. Yeah. You know, the thing that Way Out West has brought to the scene in Melbourne is it's provided a place over the bridge where you're guaranteed that you're going to have a crowd that's there on purpose. That are there for the music, and they're there to see the band, and that community atmosphere that you have. It fills you with confidence as an artist when you just arrive happy, because you know, I'm with my people. I was talking about, the guy coming into the pub in Sevenoaks, and he got it. Suddenly he got it. This after 3 months of looking for someone who would get it. It's an underground movement. This kind of music that we're into. Always has been, and it remains so. So it's almost like an oasis in the desert. Yeah.
That's great, Max. That's how we see it too. Yeah.
And when the first time you played, Geoff, you wouldn't have known who we were. What made you give us a chance?
I was a gig. So I rarely think twice if there's an opportunity to go and play. Then I'm just like, sign me up. I'll be there. The fact that it's one of those gigs where you like now, like super confident. This is going to be great. This is going to be a great day. And it's almost like there's stress release just in that, just seeing that it's a Way Out West gig that we've got on the 3rd of December or whatever. So that's going to be great. We'll put the word out and people will respond. you're confident of that. But so many other gigs that you do are total unknown. It's an absolute crapshoot. It could be great. It might be shit. Might be okay. You don't know, and that's the nature of the business. So.
Well, that was pretty damn good, wasn't it? We can see that it's a bit of a struggle being a musician, even if you're as good as the great Geoff Achison. Hope you enjoyed that. Way Out West fires up again this Sunday with the Hoodoo Men. So if you want to grab a ticket, please go to our website. And we'll see you next week when I'll bring you another interview from the Wow book series. Bye for now.